The LG V20 is one of my favorite phones, but it is a big phone. So finding a good case for this has been a huge pain in the ass for me because I want something that offers great grip. It's got to be slim and also have a little bit of protection if I drop it once or twice, because that's the whole point of having a case after all. For reference, my favorite case ever is this EvuTech Carbon. They make it for the iPhones, and they also have it as a default case for some of the new OnePlus phones that are coming out. It's super slim, it's got great grip, and it's got just enough protection, so if I drop it once or twice, it's going to at least help me out. It's not the most protective case out there, but it is my favorite, just how everything looks and feels. Unfortunately, EvuTech does not make these cases for the V20, so over the last couple months, I have purchased a handful of V20 cases, and I figured I might as well make a quick video for them, as I know buying cases can be frustrating, especially for a phone like the V20, where you really can't find any of these cases in your local Best Buy, Target, so you can't just go in, try it on, and see if you like it. You have to buy them online. Something I'm going to do for each case as well is test out how the headphone jack fits in there. Not a lot of reviewers mention this in their case reviews, and a lot of times I find that my headphone jacks just don't fit in there because they're too small or they're cut, the wrong way. So I have two headphone jacks that are pretty standard I'm going to try out for each case as well. The first case up here is the Milken Frosted Shield. This is made of a matte plastic. It's about $10 on Amazon where I got it. It's super simple. Just get it in there, see what you guys think of that fit. It's not too bad. The website describes it as ultra thin, ultra slim, ultra light. It's not too bad. It offers good protection. It's got great grip. The back has a ton of these tiny little bumps. I think you guys can see it here. The sides have a really nice matte feel. The sides do not have those bumps. It's not slippery at all. And the good news here is it 100% protects the camera bump. So the camera is not actually going to be touching the surface when you have this laying down on its back, which is nice because that thing sticks out like crazy and it's really fragile. My only issue with this case is that it adds a bit too much bulk on the side of the phone for my taste. You can see these are pretty thick sides right here. Some people aren't going to care, but my problem is this phone is already super thick to begin with. It's just really wide, and this case makes it even wider. So it's not really as slim as I thought it would be when I bought it. But for $10, if you want something that offers good grip, decent protection, you don't mind some extra width, this one is a no-brainer. And just to give you guys an idea of the headphone jack cutout, there's plenty of space here because it doesn't come all the way around the lip of the phone. It's just this bottom piece. So you can pretty much fit any headphone jack you want in there. That one works fine. And then this guy, my little 90-degree jack. That one fits in there great as well. I've had no issues with headphone jacks with this case. So overall, pretty good case here. The next case is another Milken. This is a Clear TPU. It's super thin, really, really thin. It's got a lot of grip actually too. It's kind of like a sticky feeling plastic, but not in a gross way. Because it's so thin, I don't think this one offers a whole lot of protection, but if you want a thin TPU case, this is a decent choice. An interesting feature here, it's got some dust-proof plugs on the bottom for the headphone jack and for the USB-C connector. So these actually flip out. The only thing I don't like about this is when you actually have the headphone cable in here, the plug just sits below it. That's honestly not a big deal though. It only kind of gets irritating when you're doing a lot of double tap to wake and it's just kind of moving all over the place. But mostly only if you hit it on that side. One drawback is it does not offer a whole lot of protection on the camera bump. I don't know if you guys can see, but the camera actually sticks out a little bit further than the case does. So if you're worried about the camera glass scratching or getting damaged, this is probably not the best case to go for. The material, again, it's a TPU. It's very, very grippy. I have super dry hands all the time, and generally a lot of these TPU cases don't work well for me because they're still really slippery. But this one I've had no issues with. And it also has these nice little ridges on the side here, these side bumps, for a little bit of extra grip. They're teeny tiny little bumps on here, kind of like the Frosted Shield. And those do actually help with grip. I thought it was kind of a gimmick, but they do actually help. This is about $10 as well. Pretty good case. Probably my favorite TPU case. If they didn't have these dust plugs on the bottom, which can be seen as a benefit by many, I understand. If they didn't have those, this would probably be my go-to case right now. And just to show you guys what the headphone jack cutout looks like, here's when it's folded back. It's really thin, so it's really not going to get in the way of a whole lot of headphone jacks going in there. This one fits in just fine. Let's get this guy. And that one fits in perfectly as well. I haven't had any issue with headphone jacks with this one. This is the Milken TPU case. So this case is the JD TPU Slim case. I ordered the red because I thought, based on a lot of the reviews on Amazon, that this is going to be a much darker, kind of cooler looking red, but it came out a little lighter than I was expecting. It looks more pink than red in most lights. It's not a bad thing. I like pink. Just don't expect this to be a nice fire engine red. Good protection all around here. It's got a nice lip for the screen, so if you set it face down, it's not going to scratch. The camera bump is covered for the most part, which is good news, at least more than it was on the TPU case here. The sides are nice and grippy, but the back has a matte finish that I'm not crazy about. So you can see it's kind of like the sticky plastic on the side, and then a typical matte finish right here that's a little slippery for my taste, but for most people I think it'll be just fine. On Amazon you can get this in black, blue, purple, pinkish red, this color right here. It has a little bit of width, but not to the point where it makes it difficult to handle, and it gets just a little bit thinner than the frosted shield over here. And let's see how it does with the headphone jacks. This one has no problem. Again, they give you plenty of space for your 3.5 millimeter input. And that guy has no problem, so it's all good as far as headphone jacks are concerned. $6 case, pretty good deal right here. Now we've got probably the most interesting design of the 6 cases that I've purchased, 7 I can count. This is the LiveManDo TPU case, and believe it or not, this is the simplest design that the company offers on their Amazon page, so I'm just going to get it in there for you guys. You know, it's very similar to this guy right here, the JD TPU Slim case. You know, the logo on the bottom here is just hideous. I hate that they did that with that font. It's a bit thicker than the JD over here, a little bit thicker. The lip at least is much thicker, and the width, it adds a lot of width to the phone. The edges are matte, and the back itself kind of feels like a fake leather almost. And the design right here, it kind of sticks out. You know, you can actually feel some of these ridges right here, which is neat. It adds some texture, so it actually makes it a pretty grippy option. You know, if you guys can handle the design, this is a pretty grippy protective case. The headphone jack cutout, however, is really small. I mean, that's pretty darn small, so I'm going to give these guys a shot. See, that one does not go in all the way. You can kind of see it moving the, let me focus for you guys, it's moving the plastic when you do it. And that is barely in all the way. But you don't get that nice satisfying click confirming that it's in there. Let's try this one. That one clicked in after some force, so this one fits, this style headphone jack fits pretty well in there. But this guy that has a little bit of thickness right here, unfortunately does not. I have another headphone jack in my car that I use to tie into my sound system, and that one did not fit at all, so that's one of the main reasons that I do not use this case on a daily basis. The inside of the case looks like a Spigen ripoff. I mean, it looks exactly the same as some of the Spigen designs that I've seen. You know, this one's pretty average, but check out the Amazon listing. There are a ton of designs, and they're unique and pretty busy in my opinion, but some people might love that. Just this logo is horrible. So initially I was really excited for this next one. This is the BearMotion Sandstone case. I love the sandstone finish, just like the OnePlus phones have on a lot of their default cases, but this one's a little disappointing for me. It does have the sandstone finish, but it's not as grippy as the OnePlus versions, you know. And other than the finish, it's pretty much identical to this Milken frosted case right here, the TPU. About the same price too. This one might be a little bit cheaper. I think this is $8. But you know, it's got the exact same style. It's actually a little bit wider than the Milken TPU is. I don't know if that's focusing or not. The Milken is actually thinner than this guy is. So if you're looking for a case like this that doesn't have a lip that goes all the way around the phone, the Milken is probably the way to go. One kind of weird thing I've noticed with this phone is that the bottom cutouts right here, these guys running along this ridge, these are kind of sharp cutouts. You know, it's sharp. I hold my phone like this, so I balance it with my pinky, and my pinky gets a little sore from where the headphone jack cutout is right here, and I don't have that problem with any other case on this table here. So just a thing to think about if you do hold your phone like that. The camera still sticks out a tiny bit, which is a bit of a disappointment considering how fragile that thing is. But if you're in love with the sandstone finish, this is a decent choice, especially considering that this thing is only about $8. And it's going to pretty much be compatible with every headphone input that you can imagine right here. Now we're moving into some more popular cases. This is the Ringkey Fusion. I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's described as a TPU case, but it's not flexible like some other TPUs. This feels like a pretty sturdy plastic. It's a thick hard case. You know, the thickness worries me because I feel like there's no give because it's thick and it's very plasticky, feeling like a thick plastic. So I feel like if I drop it, there's no flex. But they claim that this is military drop grade certified. It's not a matte case. It's the same sort of sticky, plasticky feel all around, kind of like this guy. So it's got good grip. I do like the grip on this one. And it's not a super thin case, but it doesn't add a crazy amount of bulk either. It does have a big lip. So if you're putting this thing face down on the desk, you don't have to worry about anything. It's not going to scratch the screen. One thing that does irritate me a little bit about the lip on this phone is that this part right here, there's a little chamfer right before the lip ends, and that's pretty sharp. You know, it's sharper than any of the cutouts on any of these phones right here. So just something to think about. It's also got these little bumps right here on the corners, I guess to help it sit more flush, but I don't necessarily know why they needed to do that because the case is flush anyway. It probably lifts it up a little bit for extra protection for the camera bump, which is nice. And let's give the headphone jack a shot here. It's not a great size cutout because it's kind of thick down here. So that one fits with no issue. And this one fits with no issue. So I was initially kind of concerned, but it looks like we are good to go with the headphone jack. That's just barely enough space. It is kind of tight there, but look at how thick that cutout is. So if you have a headphone jack that's a little bit thicker than that, it's probably not going to do it. If you have to have protection, I would assume that this is a good option. I haven't dropped it on this, but I don't really trust it as much as I do something like the Poetic Affinity. So this was the case that I wanted to like the most. YouTubers talk about this brand all the time. I was excited to give it a shot. You can see it's got some black rubber plastic materials at the edges and running down the back. This kind of juts out, so I don't really like the way that it feels when I'm holding it. I wish it was just flush. It's not a flush back, unfortunately. I'll just throw this guy on for you. It's a pretty thick case. It's the thickest of all of these right here. It's grippy. It's definitely grippy, and I can tell that it's going to offer a lot of protection if I drop it. It's got extra rubber down here at each corner. It looks like it's doing some fancy shock absorption thing here on the edges. The edges do have these ridges, which helps with grip as well, but it's thick. And my problem with this phone to begin with is that it's gigantic, and so I wanted to find a case that's pretty slim, and this one, you know, it's a little bit too big for me. The lip is huge, and it adds the most width of any of the cases on the table. The headphone jack cutout also is really small, and it's a really thick lip there, so there's not a lot of give if this thing doesn't fit. So that one fits perfectly. Let's give this guy a shot. That one fits as well. And those are pretty standard, so I'm glad that those are working. But if you have a relatively thick 3.5 millimeter cable with your headphones, it's probably not going to fit in there. But I know you can typically buy replacement cables for a lot of headphones, so just food for thought for you guys. The case does offer a lot of protection, which is the point for a lot of people. But you know, for me, I wanted to focus more on the size and feel of the cases because when you're looking online, you can generally get a good idea of protection for the phone. Is it going to protect the phone or not? But you can't get a good idea of how big the case actually is and what it feels like. So this is a really grippy case. It offers a lot of protection, but just adds a little too much bulk for my taste. So I hope this helps some people looking for cases out there. My two favorite are actually these two Milken cases, the Frosted Shield and the Clear TPU right here. Honestly, if the Clear TPU didn't have those dust plugs, it would pretty much be an easy choice for me. It adds no bulk, it's got nice grip, it's got decent protection. I actually don't use a case on my V20 right now, but I'm always scared it's going to get destroyed if I drop it. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you're still thinking about getting the V20, check out my in-depth review. I will drop a link for you guys in the description below.